and Goodwill Ambassador Emma Watson gave a really powerful speech at the UN on Saturday. It's trending all over social media about gender equality. In fact, she's calling it her initiative, HeForShe. I want us to break it down. We're not going to do 5 words or less, just raw. Why don't I start by just reading a couple of her quotes for those of you who have not seen the speech. We'll also provide a link so you guys can watch it. I highly suggest you do. We have here one of her quotes. I was appointed as Goodwill Ambassador for UN Women 6 months ago, and the more I've spoken about feminism, the more I've realized that fighting for women's rights has too often become synonymous with man-hating. If there's one thing I know for certain, it is that this has to stop. She goes on, feminism is by definition the belief that men and women should have equal rights and opportunities. It is the theory of the political, economic, and social equality of the sexes. And there is one other part that I wanted to mention because she brings up a really interesting aspect about gender equality, that it should be important to men. She says, gender equality is your issue too, referring to the guys, because to date, I've seen my father's role as a parent being valued less by society, despite my needing his presence as a child as much as my mother's. I've seen young men suffering from mental illness, unable to ask for help, for fear it would make them less of a man or less of a man. In fact, she brought up a statistic too that in the UK that suicide for young men is the highest killer, more so than car accidents, and that stigma. Yeah, and that stigma, it just has to be broken down more than anything. Okay, so first and foremost, let's go around the horn. What do you think about her speech, and are you a fan of hers in general?
Absolutely. Yeah. I thought her speech was phenomenal, and she nailed it. However, I do want to say, like, there were so many people that spoke that were also just perfect and on point, that have been doing this for years and years and years, that don't get the credit. So also, this is like a huge step for the UN that I think is headed in the right direction, is using young people or people that are influential like Emma Watson with younger generation, especially men just love Emma Watson so much. So to bring her in was such a good call. I think people may actually start to listen, and that's so good. So yes. Yeah,
and she really rose to the occasion.
It's the hardest part about it. I mean, it's courageous because no one wants to be in that minority of how easily it gets to get people pile on someone that will say this. And people assume someone's a feminist, she must be a woman. Men can be feminists because, again, it helps you. There's so many. I've talked about commercials, and her part about how men need to be the actual father sometimes, or be known and present in their child's life. Every commercial where a man is in it and he's the father, he's a bumbling idiot. Yeah. He doesn't know how to put food in the microwave. He trips over the kitchen. He doesn't know how to mop his own floors because his wife does it instead.
It's funny because it's true.
You know, men do their own laundry. They mop their floors. Yes. They cook and they clean.
Gender roles.
They don't like sitting in garbage either. So like, it doesn't. And so since there's a ruling factor who are afraid of anything changing, and that's when all of the vitriol comes. How dare you say now you want to rule me because I'm a man. Women want to rule men. So you throw up these straw man arguments so that you don't have to talk about it anymore, and so people can be afraid to not bring up valid points.
Yeah, but Vanessa, why do you think that feminism has such an ugly connotation? Why do people perceive it as such a negative thing when it's really just asking for equality?
I think it's not just feminism, but equality in general. I mean, I know that you and I were both really passionate about the No Hate campaign and about equality for same-sex marriages, and then people took that as, really offensive. Oh, don't say that, or don't, So I don't think it's just feminism. I think it's anytime you voice your opinion, and it's a strong opinion, and it's not maybe the popular opinion. I think her speech was unbelievably powerful. I think it was so important to start the conversation with the people that are of her generation, and also I thought it was. Yes, it was feminism in that, of course, she's fighting for, equal gender rights with the females, but she also brought up the men. Yes. It wasn't just one-sided. It wasn't just, you need to hook up the chicks. It was like, yo, don't forget about the other word that starts with D.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like they need some help too. Exactly.
And I think it's important that we, because I was reading some of the questions in the forums or the commentary. Wow. Again, it puts you right into the middle of it. Of some people are resistant towards it. Some people are preaching MRA, the men's rights activists, which for some reason just want to keep women lower and men higher. And then some people just completely ignorant, saying, but women do have equal rights.
On Earth, men and women are equals.
Equals? We make 70% of your salary for the same job.
Let's go over some of the statistics here. Okay, so first let's start with violence against against women and girls. So violence against women and girls is a problem of pandemic proportions. At least 1 in 3 women around the world have been beaten, coerced into sex, or otherwise abused in her lifetime, with the abuser usually someone that is known to her. Also, globally, 10 million more girls are out of school than boys. And one other one, women produce up to 80% of food in developing countries, but are more likely to be hungry than men and are often denied the right to their own land. So this is globally that we're talking about. And then, of course, we have all the different inequality just with wages here in the United States. I mean, it is perverse everywhere, but here in the U.S., women, if for instance, myself and Brett, okay, all things being equal, we grew up together. We had the same qualifications. We both went to Stanford University. You guys know that Brett graduated from Stanford. We both got the same jobs. 30 years down the road, he would have made $500,000 more than I would have.
That's insane.
All things being equal. That's fucking bullshit. Yeah. So then also we have here, overall, women make up just 48 of the chief executives at the country's 1,000 largest companies, or just 4.8%. They are less than 15% of executive officers at Fortune 500 companies. And then also median pay for the 11 female CEOs on the list is 1.6 million less than the median pay for the men of the entire group. So there are some stats for the people that believe that gender inequality does not exist. Of course, we have come leaps and bounds in the last, few decades, but we're not there. So let's respond to the statistics.
Yeah, this is where you get people who now have such an issue with anything changing, because they think, oh, if anyone else has any kind of level of equality I have, they're going to do to me what I've been doing to them. So they think everyone thinks the way they do. They think everyone is going to respond to these situations the way they would. So they're afraid of someone being like them.
Yeah.
And then so it tells a lot about those types of people. They're afraid of it.
Bree, you brought up a really interesting statistic before we sat down. Do you have that on you?
Well, yeah, I was going to use it for our next story with the celebrity nude hack, the second round.
Okay.
But it applies here about how we can speak up and have a stronger voice. It's the statistic about social networking, the percentage reached by age and gender. Did you know that between the ages of 15 and 55?
Yeah. Women?
It's mostly women.
Love that.
On social media.
Love that.
That dominate social media, right? And yet we have like these men's rights activists out there that are speaking up, and then women who are anti-yes all women and stuff like that. So it's like there are just so many people opposing this, and yet there are so many people on the internet that have a voice that don't necessarily realize that they do.
Amen. And we got to move on, but I want your final thought. What are some ideas where we can have some solutions?
We have come leaps and bounds. We still have a long ways to go. I think shows like this is essential because we are spreading the word and we're spreading the awareness. And I think as long as we are raising up the next generations to sort of see everyone as equal, whether you are male or female or gay or straight or black or white, it doesn't matter. It should be about the person.